What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Bullish Chips, where we use a proven and repeatable strategy to make money every day. This channel happens to focus on the Bullish Semiconductor ETF, which goes by the ticker symbol SOXL. But the charting and the trading method we use can be implemented with any other company that's traded in the U.S. stock market. So make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy this video. Really helps the channel grow. Thanks again to all those who continue to tune in and give us the thumbs up. We really appreciate that. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell as well. That way you're notified when we release new videos. We do release bonus content from time to time, but the nightly and weekend videos like tonight's video, we focus on identifying triggers and targets for trades ranging from scalps and intraday trades all the way up to long-term swings and leaps. So if you want a deeper dive into exactly how we set up our charts, the different color coding for different time frames, broadening formations, levels of support and resistance, make sure you check out the bonus content on our YouTube page. So I do encourage you to watch the full video because along with the triggers and targets, we do give some pretty good insight on price action for all time frames. So let's take a look at tonight's agenda to talk about what we will go over in tonight's video. First, we'll recap price action from Tuesday, November 25th. Then we'll zoom out and take a look at the week, month, quarter, and year, keep level set there. And then we'll zoom back in and set the 4-hour markers as well as the triggers and targets for Wednesday, November 26th. And we'll also do a review of the triggers and targets for the week, month, quarter, and year. All right, so just looking at today's intraday price action on more of a scalping time frame at the beginning of the day, right? Just imagine the day is just opening. We have on our chart the four major 4-hour markers, right? So up towards the top of the page, we've got the previous high day. We've got the overnight high as well. Towards the bottom of the page, we have the previous low of day. Bottom of the page, bottom of the chart, we have the previous low of day. And then towards the middle of the chart, we have the overnight low. And then, of course, we can't chart the opening print until price actually opens, but the opening print is right there with the overnight low. Opening print is, for those who aren't familiar with our verbiage here on this channel, is just the first traded price of the day, right? So if you're not familiar with this channel, the basic rules are we look for higher lows at or above opening print to get into calls, and we look for lower highs at or below opening print to get into puts, right? And this is generally for the beginning part of the day, opening hour, trying to get in early on a trend before it's really revealed on the higher time frames, right? And again, this is a repeatable strategy. As long as you stick to the rules, you should be pretty successful, right? Not saying that you are going to win every time, but you will win more than you lose for sure. And as long as you stick to your rules, even when you do lose, it's going to be a minor loss, right? So let's take a look at price action here today. We see, again, we open it up here at 34.44 and we push down. We did have a couple of puts left over that we swung. And so we went ahead and let go of those at the week flip. When we saw that we were no longer gonna stay below, right? We pushed down. It looked like we were gonna get another 2 down candle, but that 2 down turned into a green 3 or a bullish engulfing candle. So once we saw that on the short time frame, we went ahead and got rid of those puts. Now we did push up and we made a lower high below the opening print. So once we pushed below this lower, locked in this 2 up as a lower high, right? Once price on this candle went below that, the low of that 2, we did enter puts. But you can see we struggled with the week flip, which coincides with the previous low of day as well, right? Another thing to think about is we're below overnight low at that point, right? So overnight, right, the bears had their chance to push things lower than this level, and they couldn't. So if we're having trouble continuing momentum past that overnight level, that's something that you want to think about, especially if you are coming into a major support level like the week flip or the previous low a day, right? So we did see this, kind of flattening out here. We had our stop set, above the lower high, right? And here's a case where we stopped out for a small loss, right? Now, we entered right here around 33, I think it was 33.15. We finally got in, and then we sold once we went above this 33.87 level. So it wasn't a big deal, but it was more than we would really like to have lost on a short trade like that. But that's how things go, right? And once we saw that, right, this higher low was established here, and we poked higher high, right? This high here is higher than this high. We knew that at least on the 5-minute time frame, short time frame, that we were starting an uptrend, right? So this is where you want to bring in the nuance to the proven and repeatable strategy, right? We're looking for lower highs at or below opening print to get into puts, but this lower high, quote unquote lower high is this high, if we're talking about in reference to the opening print, yes, it is at or just slightly below opening print, but that's following a higher low, right? So higher low, higher high, start of an uptrend. This is where you bring in your nuance. And you see that if we can push down, if we do push down back to this slightly below this support area, but then pop back up, then that's establishing this as a stronger support area. And we talked about this level yesterday in yesterday's video, right? When you got all of these levels lining up, last month's low, last week's 50% level, the quarter flip, those are all going to act as a pretty, combined, a pretty strong resistance or support. So if you're able to push back above it, then you should have a decent path to the upside with a little bit of momentum that you gain from pushing through that major resistance level, right? So we entered calls here, right? There was the higher low, higher high. We pushed down, got the higher low. Once we got the higher high, we did enter calls here. We did sell 50% of those once we hit the last quarter's high, right? That's been a decent support resistance area in the past, right? If we just look to the left, this was resistance, right? Then tried to be support, but resistance, right? Push down, a little bit of resistance here. Now that's support, resistance, right? So that last quarter's high is a level of inflection, right? A point of inflection. So we sold half of our calls here, and then left our runners and let them push into the end of the day. And one of the reasons why we did that is if we look at the 4 hour, right? Oops, let's go to the 4 hour. Let's get a cleaner chart here, right? On the 4 hour, let's get less lines here. There we go. We can see that here was yesterday, right? These two candles here were Tuesday, right? So there was the possibility for the 2 up, 2 down, and that triggered immediately, right? That's one of the reasons why we got into puts, right? We pushed below opening print. We got the lower high underneath opening print, at least on the 5-minute time frame. So it looked as though we were going to push down and complete the push to the strat magnitude, right? But it did that early on, and so there was really nothing left to get in the strat. And so once we flipped 2 up on the second 4 hour of Tuesday, November 25th, that locks this in as a higher low on the 4 hour. And because before we closed, we actually clocked in a higher high on that perspective, it looks like we're turning around the 4 hour trend back to the upside, at the very least moving sideways, right? So we kept those runners through close. We'll see if we get continued push to the upside tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on when you're watching this video. But for right now, on the 4 hour at least, we've made this higher low, higher high. And if we look on the 1 day, we've got a similar situation here. Now it's a soft higher low, soft higher high, because it's all part of a one candle, right? It happened in one candle. So it's not as firm of a higher low on the day time frame. But if we can get a 2 up on Wednesday, and then on Friday maybe get another 2 up to complete this strat here of this kind of a broken 3-2 down combo 2 up, then I would have a lot more confidence that we'll continue to push up there, right? And we can start to lock this in as a more solid higher low, and wait for another little pullback and bounce opportunity, right? So We do have some more upside here in this move on the day chart, right, to get to the top of this bearish engulfing candle from last Friday. But even when we get to that level, we've got to kind of stay in guard, right? If we go to the week chart, right, that would give us a if we can push above that 3, that would give us a lock this in as a higher low on the week time frame, which is again a bullish signal, right? We've got the bull flag here. Here's the flag pull. Here's the flag. The push up to the 138.2 fib extension of that bull flag and the retracement, right? It looks like we're getting a bounce off of this 38.2, almost a full 100% retrace of those fib extensions. But if we do go 2 up, by the end of the week, that locks us in as a higher low. And again, we're neutral, leaning bullish, right? We've still got a ways to go to make a higher high to continue the uptrend, right? We could just end up making a higher low here and pushing up and moving sideways, or even pushing up and making a lower high just to push back down and make a lower low to start a downtrend on the week chart. But for now, that would lock in that higher low, and we just have to continue to be patient and wait till next week to see, are we going to get some follow through on if how strong is that follow through? Do we push up and make that higher high in just 1 week, or do we have to continue to be patient and continue to watch things, looking at last year's 50% level, 46.79, and the month flip, or at least November's high as possible points of resistance, right? So it's still a patience game. It does look like we could have bottomed for now, but again, we're still an inside candle in the week, so that hasn't been decided. We could just as easily end the week pushing down and making a lower low. I'm sorry, as far as a candle to candle count, pushing below last week's low. That's still a possibility this week. But we could, like I said, lock this in as a higher low. So patience is the name of the game right now. Just from your long-term perspective, there's no real triggers at this point in time. If you're in something already, then right, you should be monitoring this closely. But there's no new entries at this point in time on the the week, month, quarter, year view, right? So everything you should be playing should be more short-term. Overnight swings, maybe a couple night swings if we get the right triggers on the day chart. But we've been in a daily and 4-hour downtrend for a few weeks now, and it can take a little while to turn that trend around. Right, we don't always just get this perfect V-shaped recovery. You could get some sideways action just like we did here. This was 11 weeks, so don't take this for granted, but be patient, because we could just be continuing to creep higher, stair step our way higher. Right? If we look at things from the month perspective, again, nothing major, right? If we continue to push up through the end of the month, again, just a couple days left in the month, but we push up in December and go 2 up in December, that locks this in as a higher low on the month perspective, right? This was a soft higher low here. This would be our more concrete higher low, and just if we go 2 up in the month, that would just solidify this uptrend, and we would just, again, be looking for this 70.08 target there. Same with the quarter, right? Come on now, there we go. We are just barely back in force with the 1 combo 2 down, combo 2 up, right? That triggers at the 36.15, which was the high of the first 2 down here. So we're back above there, just closing 2 cents above it at 36.17. So we want to see the continued push up, because we mentioned, if we close this quarter like this doji, or even a red inverted hammer or something like that, that could be setting us up for a 2 down in the first quarter of 2026, which would lock this in as a lower high after making a lower low on the quarter chart, which again, that's bears in control at that point. So again, we want to just be on the lookout. Not saying that that's going to happen, but it is a possibility with how much we've pulled back this quarter. Again, we've got another month left in the quarter, so we could just push right back up to the top, and we're no longer worrying about this being a lower high. But for now, price is where it is, so we have to remain vigilant. But again, patience is the name of the game. Same with the year. We're kind of just waiting for the year to end when you're talking about looking at the year chart. right? Because we know we triggered the 1, 2 up, 2 down. We made a higher low so far, right? It's a higher low, and that would just continue the uptrend on the year, right? The more we can push up to the end of this year, the higher percentage chance that we have of going 2 up in the year of 2026, which triggers at that point a 2 down, 2 up, and there's again is that magnitude of 70.08, right? So not a whole lot different to say. After today's trading, right, it does look like the bulls are starting to become, get back in control of things, but it's way too early to say that, right? We just a soft higher low on the 1-day chart, right? It's a more solid higher low on the 4-hour chart. We've got the higher low, higher high, but we need to get that higher high on the day chart, and really getting the 2 up on the week would be ideal, right? I know that's a long ways to go, but that would be ideal to lock in last week as a higher low, because if we finish this week as an inside week, then we run the possibility of going 2 up next week, only to set up a 1, 2 up, 2 down possibly, in the following week. So it would be nice to push up and, reaching last week's high, push above last week's high to lock in last week as a higher low. But, at this point, again, patience is the name of the game. Just continue to play your short-term charts. If you're, a scalper or intraday trader, swing trader, overnight swing trader, this is kind of where you shine here, right? You take those shorter time frame triggers and you trade those, and you wait for the higher time frame triggers to, I guess, trigger, and that's where you enter. So let's take a look at things, zoom back in from an intraday perspective, and look at how we can attack things tomorrow. Here are our 4-hour markers laid out for us, right? So at the top of the chart, we've got the previous high a day. So that was Tuesday's high a day. At the bottom of the chart, that is the previous low a day, or Tuesday's low a day. Right now, the overnight high is 36.25 and the overnight low is 35.88. Those will most likely move overnight. So let's just say overnight high puts us down here, right? We get a push down, but then by the time price opens on Wednesday morning, say we push back up and we open, somewhere in the middle of the overnight range, right? So just calling back to the repeatable strategy that we have at the especially in the morning. We want to look for higher lows at or above opening print to get into calls. And the targets for those calls will be overnight high and previous high a day. On the other side of the coin, if we open here and we push down, maybe we get a bounce off of overnight low and we push back up, but we get a lower high underneath opening print, then we want to look to get into puts, targeting first overnight low and second previous low a day, right? Now the honorable mentions and this is why we're in a lot of chop, right? Because we've got some honorable mention levels that are mixed in here. We've got market makers expected to move high up here at 36.59. Again, that's not an end all be all. And if you're not familiar with the market makers expected move, make sure you check out our weekend video. But that is a point of inflection, right? Then we've got the clump of the quarter flip, last week's 50% and last month's low, right? All right here. Those should act as a pretty strong support. And you can see how on Tuesday it was the chop zone, right? While below that, the bears were in control, and that 2 up, 2 down was triggered on the 4-hour. But then once we got back above that level, you can see how we made those higher lows, and the bulls were back in control. So we talk a lot about how what the reaction is at that 50% level of the previous week, and you can see. So let's bring in Monday, Tuesday. So there was a decent bounce off of that level on Monday, but it pulled back to it, and then we got a decent bounce off of it as well. So because we couldn't sustain that bounce and we had the pullback, right? If Tuesday would have opened here and we continued to push up, then we would know that there's probably not as much chop in the future or the rest of this week. But because we've just been hovering around last week's 50% level, I expect a little bit more chop. That combined with it's a shortened holiday week. Tomorrow's the last full trading day. Friday is open for trading, but a lot of people will still be on vacation, and the market closes at 1 Eastern anyway. So don't expect a lot of volume on Friday. So that could just be the recipe for chop, right? Just as much as people are off on Friday, there's probably almost as many people off on Wednesday, traveling, but to get to where they need to be before the holiday. So, don't expect a whole lot of volume over the next few trading days. And, that's why I expect things to kind of hover around the 50% level. Now, if you do get somebody that comes in with, a big order, that can tend to move the market more abruptly, right? With lower volume comes higher volatility sometimes, because those, if a big order does come in, it's gonna move that needle that much more, because there's not other people in the market to try and push that price either back down or back up, which, opposite of whatever the big order was. So, just keep that in mind. Let's look at the 4-hour chart here. 4 hour. Let's go to the swing chart. All right, and we can see that again. We talked about today. On Tuesday, November 25th. There was the 2 down. The 2 up, 2 down was triggered. It reached that magnitude and actually triggered the combo 2 up, combo 2 down, but did not reach that magnitude. It reversed here. We've got this higher low on the 4-hour time frame, and we've actually just barely notched a higher high, right? So things do seem to be moving in the upward direction, but we've got to remember these downtrend lines, right? And again, we don't put the most weight into downtrend or uptrend lines, but we do have to look at where they intersect with those horizontal lines that we do put more weight in, right? So you can see we're kind of getting past this intersection of the 1-day downtrend line and last quarter's high. So, if we get that continued push up on Wednesday, we could see it shoot off and try and attack the high of this bearish engulfing candle that we had Friday. But we do have to keep in mind this 4-hour. I don't even want to call it so much a downtrend, but a lower high line at this point, because we did put in this higher low and slightly higher high. Now, is it going to, this high is higher than this high, but do we reach this high, right? That's the key. And this 4-hour lower high line could be what prevents us from reaching that. But if we do, I don't expect us to go too much further than the high of this 3. Last week's high would be really the highest I expect us to go on Wednesday. That would be a pretty huge move, right? 36.45 to 40.08, $3.50 move. That's a very decent sized move for SOXL. So want to see the continued momentum to the upside. At the same time, we could just turn into a chop, right? We got last quarter's high, which is acted as resistance. We got the levels of support that we talked about before. We could just pull another 2 up, 2 down and just create another higher low, maybe a lower high, and just create consolidation along that quarter flip and last week's 50% level. All right. Now on the day, we got that soft higher low, soft higher high. So you want to see that continued momentum, but it's basically the same thing as on the 4-hour, right? We're breaking through this downtrend, where this downtrend intersects with the quarter high, and the market makers expect to move high, but we're not all the way through it yet, right? We want to see that continued push up, and frankly, I'd like to see a higher low, push up, pull back again, get that higher low. That would really give us, I think, a lot more momentum to continue that push back up to the highs that we were at a few weeks ago. All right. So let's go to just the cold hard numbers in our notes here. All right, this is for Wednesday, November 26th. There will be 23 trading days left in 2025, and the close price on Tuesday, November 25th, was 36.17. All right, we know that in order for the week to turn red, we would have to go below 32.69. For the month to go green, we've got to get up above 49.49. So you can see this is where the back and forth is going on, and why I say we got to just continue to be patient from the longer term perspective, because we're still green on the quarter and the year, right? Don't have too far to go to flip the year red. I'm sorry, the quarter red, but we're still green at this point. And even when we did flash red on Monday, we easily popped back green. So I think we should be able to hold the quarter and the year green. It's this week and month that are going to be the fight, right? We got to get that month turned around. Now the month is almost over, so we're about to start a new month, and as long as we continue to push up, then December should start out green. But We just got to keep that in mind. All right, we know the expected move for the week is plus or minus $4.86, giving us a range of 36.59 to 28.87, and we know where our gaps above and gaps below are. From the scalping perspective, especially early in the morning, we know we're looking for higher lows at or above opening print to get into calls, targeting overnight high and previous high a day. And on the downside, we're looking for lower highs at or below opening print to get into puts, targeting overnight low and previous low a day as those targets. Right now, once we get past that previous low a day or previous high a day target, then you want to start looking at the triggers and targets for the 4-hour and day time frame. Like we talked about before, if we push to the downside, that gives us a 2 up, 2 down on the 4-hour. That triggers at 34.75. So if we go below 34.75, that does have a magnitude of 32.05. Now, since the trend does appear like it's flipping from down to up, went ahead and put in an intermediate target between the trigger and the magnitude, since it is a decent move back to the downside. If we are going to be heading back to the upside or even moving sideways, then we should see some corrective activity or sideways action around that level. So that may be a level that you want to, if we do trigger to the downside, get rid of maybe half your position and leave the rest of the runners to try and reach that 32.05. That's the 4-hour time chart to the downside. To the upside, we would have a 2 up continuation triggering at 36.45. And the targets at that point would be 37.68 with an extended target of 38.77. All right, that's the 4-hour time chart. Now, if we reach the targets of either the upside or downside, then on the 4-hour chart, then we want to turn to the day triggers and targets. Now, we had the green 3 or the bullish engulfing candle on Tuesday. So Wednesday on the day chart, the only thing that we can do is either go 2 up or 2 down. I mean, I guess we can stay inside as well, but that wouldn't trigger anything. But to trigger something to the downside, we'd have to go below 32.05, which is the magnitude of the 4-hour move, right? Once we reach 32.05, that triggers a 2 down. So our targets at that point would be 29.56, and 28.28. Now to the upside, if we trigger a 2 up, then that triggers at 36.45, which is also the trigger of the 4-hour. And we've got basically the same targets to the upside with one additional extended target just because there's a higher time frame. Right? We won't go back to the charts for the week, month, quarter, and year. We're still inside on the week. Got to get to 28.12 to trigger a 2 down continuation, which is also a trigger of a combo 2 up, combo 2 down. So at 28.12, the first thing we would be shooting for is 26.57 and 23.80. Don't think that we would get below that this week, but just in case the rug does get pulled, we've got some extended targets there. But again, we're still being patient. If we go to the upside, that gives us a 2 down, 2 up. That triggers at 40.08 and has a magnitude of 45.52. Highly doubt that even if we do trigger that, we would reach the magnitude. But you never know. So we've got to keep the targets on the board, right? The month, we've talked about how we did trigger the 2 up, 2 down, but we're no longer in force because we're back above that 33.98 level. If we do get back below that 33.98 level, obviously 29.03 and 28.92 will be those first targets that we would look to hit. But because we already hit those, we could see us going further than that, and that's why we've got the extended targets here, right? Again, month is almost over, so pretty sure we're not going to reach that magnitude, right? If we do something crazy happens Wednesday and Friday and we end the month above 50.76, that obviously triggers the green 3 or the bullish engulfing candle. Again, I don't think that's going to happen this month, but if something crazy happens, then we've got our targets to the upside. The quarter, right, we triggered the 1 combo 2 down, combo 2 up, and actually we can put this back in bold because we are back in force. Oops, what's going on? There we go. Right, so we underline when something triggers, and we put it in bold if it is still in force. So we are back above that 36.15 level, even if just barely. Right, so we have re-triggered and are back in force with the 1 combo 2 down, combo 2 up. And again, we're just looking for these intermediate targets on the way to the ultimate magnitude of 70.08. We talked about it, at the beginning of the quarter when we triggered. It may take 2 to maybe even 3, possibly 4 quarters to reach this magnitude, depending on if we hit some sideways action for a while or something like that. But that is the ultimate target. The year, we talked about how we triggered a 1, 2 up, 2 down, but we're able to reverse that and put in a higher low, right? We never reached the 621 magnitude for that move. We only got down to 723 in April. So obviously we've turned that around. Got kind of a fat doji, but it is green. So we want to look to continue to push up through the end of the year to give us ourselves the best chance of going 2 up next year. Triggering that 2 down, 2 up, and looking for that magnitude of 70.08. So there you have it. The triggers and targets for everything from the scalping chart all the way to the 1-year chart. Tried to jam in as much information as I could without taking up too much of your time. Video felt a little bit off today. Not the numbers or anything, but didn't feel quite as smooth. So if you notice anything funny about the video, just let me know in the comments. We're always open to our followers' critiques, right? If there's something that you would like us to cover more, let us know. If you think we babbled on too much in a certain section, let us know. But we're here for you. The only thing that we ask is you give us a thumbs up, right? If you made it to the end of this video, we definitely appreciate it. Hopefully it means that this video was interesting and informative to you. So we just ask for a free thumbs up, right? It doesn't cost anything. We don't charge anything for this channel, so we just hope that you could give us a thumbs up there to show us that what we're doing matters, right? But again, this is all for you guys, and if you want to see something more or less, definitely let us know in the comments. We're not shy. We'll converse with you all, right? Everything's always been constructive criticism so far, so it makes it that much easier to converse with people, right? You don't have to overcome some negative attitude or something like that. But anyways, I digress. Just trying to let you all know that we're doing this for you guys. We've got a small group of 3 here. I'm the one on the mic, but we all combine heads to come up with these trading plans and strategies. So we just want to make sure that it's beneficial to as many people as possible. So again, give us the thumbs up if you've made it this far, and we'll end the video like we normally do. If you're watching this Tuesday night, get yourself some good rest tonight. That way you wake up refreshed tomorrow. If you're watching this Wednesday morning, we hope you got some good rest last night and you're feeling refreshed this morning. And we just look forward to getting out there and trading with everybody.